Welcome to this episode of the Happy Active podcast. This is a great episode with Liz Caplin, who does hypnotherapy. I think Liz is like a really great example of someone who has made lemonade out of lemons, and she really embodies the ethos of what I'm trying to do here. She's found something that really worked for her and then trained in doing it so she can share it with other people, which I absolutely love. Um, and she's really great. She has great energy, and I think she's really good at explaining hypnotherapy and how it can be helpful and what it can do. So I think you're going to really enjoy this. As ever, get in touch if you've got any feedback, questions, topics you would like for me to cover. I always love getting emails from people. And I think that's it. Enjoy the episode.
Oh, no, pressed the wrong thing. There we go. There are many ways to find your path to better health and happiness, and what works is highly individualised to each person. So my philosophy is that most people are more likely to find that if they're active participants in their own journey. So this is a space to start exploring some of the rich and varied areas in which people practice, so that you can start thinking about what resonates with you and discover new or different practices to either start or deepen your current health practices. And today I have Elizabeth Caplin. And why don't you tell us a bit about what you do?
Thank you so much for having me, Ellie. I'm very excited to talk to you today. Yeah, about hypnotherapy. So my journey becoming a hypnotherapist it wasn't exactly like, as to say, a straight line. It came from my own personal experience of having to completely rebuild my life. So I was in a toxic marriage, as I would have said before to you, for 20 years. And when I finally left at 43, I moved back to Ireland with two young daughters. So we had been living abroad, and then we came back and we literally had nothing but the clothes on our back and 3 suitcases. So I had to start completely from scratch, figuring out how to support my children and like trying to find myself again after years of being like literally in survival mode. So that period of my life forced me to look at my own mindset and like my own beliefs and how much of my thinking like had shaped me. So I started studying counseling and psychology, and I was so fascinated by the mind. I just absorbed so much on how to become more confident and more resilient, and how I realized then that I had the power. Like I understood then that I was in control of creating my life and my future. So through my studies, Ellie, I read an article that actually said that 6 sessions of hypnotherapy was the same equivalent of 600 sessions of talk therapy. So
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, I need to find out more about this, magic, as it sounded like it, as it felt like. So I found a person here in Ireland who I went to, who trained me to be a hypnotherapist. And at that time, I only wanted to learn it to benefit myself and my girls. But when I saw the change in myself and the trickle effect that it had on my girls, and when I saw that even when I was training, I would have had to have people, to do for the training, and I saw major changes taking place in them through methods that I was using, and they were only in the training days. I knew that I needed to bring this further, and so that's where my hypnotherapy business was born, and it's been a complete game changer. I now help others break free. They break free from patterns that hold them back, whether it's fears or phobias, self-doubt, anxiety. It's been an incredible journey. It hasn't been that long. But I help people create, real change in their life, just like, like I've created in mine.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing what can come out of, like, that's positive, that can come out of really difficult situations and being kind of forced to make change.
Yeah,
And it's, oh
exactly.
yeah, oh, I'm so pleased you found something that worked for you and that you can share.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
so I don't know loads about hypnotherapy, if I'm honest.
Okay.
So I would love to know even a bit about like what happens when you first go to start it.
So yeah, if you were going to go to a session and start it. So if I if I was to tell you that what it's not, maybe sometimes a lot of people say that, they think of stage hypnosis.
Yeah.
So, like people talking like chickens. So if I kind of debunk maybe what hypnosis is first, if that's okay with you, yeah, because it is people get asked that all the time, but get asked me that all the time. But while like stage hypnosis, like it's very entertaining, it's completely different from hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy um, is a therapeutic like approach that helps people create, like I said, deep and lasting change by working with the subconscious mind. So we have two parts of our mind. We have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is where all our habits, our beliefs, our emotional patterns live. Most of what we do every day, like we get up every morning, we get out of the bed on the same way, we make our coffee the same way, we have our shower the same way, we brush our teeth with the same hand. This is all subconscious programming. Our conscious mind only um, holds 5% of what we do on a daily basis. 95% of what we do is all subconscious. It's all programming. And so and we do these every day, but this is the same if you have fears or self-doubt. They're all controlled by our subconscious as well. So when you come into hypnotherapy, and I work online, which sometimes people think, oh, does it work the same? Do you not have to be in an office? I personally, in my opinion, think online works so well because I've got to work with people from everywhere. And there, a lot of people's fears and anxieties and worries and all that, a lot of them have them in their home. They're anxious on a daily basis. And so if they're at home in the comfort of their own bed or the comfort of their own couch, they can just relax, and there's no driving, and there's no you can anchor, because I do a lot of anchoring in positivity and how you feel, and you can anchor it. Like, just say I did hypnotherapy with you in the chair that you're in now. Every time that you would sit in that chair, you would feel empowered, after a session. So it's hypnosis is trance, and it's exactly, sometimes people get afraid of the word hypnosis, which is fair enough, but I like to tell people that we're in hypnosis all the time. People don't realize it. Like, think about when you're driving, like when you first learn how to drive, you had to consciously think of every single action, like checking the mirrors and the gear stick and pressing the pedals. But years after, you can have a conversation with somebody. You could be drinking a cup of coffee. You could be listening to the radio. At one stage, it went from being conscious to subconscious. And so how I work is with the subconscious. So when somebody comes in, I get them into a nice trance-like state, just that dreamy, like if you were in a movie or you were really engrossed. Like, it's hypnosis when you're really engrossed in a book, or like in a cinema and that movie's on. It's just that feeling.
So like almost like when people describe like being in a good meditative state or something.
Exactly, totally. It's such a beautiful place to be. And I actually have a hypnotherapist that I would ask for help from. She's an American girl, and I always think we all need, other people's, even people that have all the answers, not all the, I don't have all the answers, but have answers. They
Yeah.
also need, but just that knowing that you're in a safe space with somebody who knows how to keep you safe. And I work with the subconscious mind. And when you work with the subconscious mind, where all the fears and doubts and phobias and anxiety all live, they all live down there. We mightn't like to think it, but they're all down there. And when I work with that part, change just happens. So it's just a beautiful process. And people feel fantastic after it. And there's nothing to be scared or worried about at all when you come to a hypnotherapy session.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I do think it is, yeah, I've actually just been talking to someone about journaling, and she was saying something similar about for people who like to write, that they sometimes will do like long bits of writing and then not even know what they've written because they're accessing that same subconscious sort of part of your brain where you suddenly like, oh, it's all the stuff I thought I dealt with or I thought didn't even know was a thing.
Exactly. And the same thing happens with like our fears or, beliefs and habits. They're all stored down there. But when we go into that like theta state, like I would do self-hypnosis every night and every morning, and you just go into that theta state, and when you ask the right questions, you literally will get answers from the subconscious mind, or or somebody might lose something. I help so many people find things that, through their subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind knows where they left that phone, or they know where they left their keys or something. And when you just get quiet and go into and ask the subconscious where did I leave it, or whatever, literally like a toaster, because it's stored away, it literally will pop it up into the conscious mind. So it's so fascinating.
Is that why sometimes, like, if you've been thinking about something and you can't remember it, that you'll wake up at like
Yeah.
2 a.m. like, oh, that's the thing? It must be
Exactly. Or
okay.
so right, Ellie. Or you're walking past someone on the street and you're like, I know that person, or like I was at school with that girl or whatever. I know that person. And they say your name and you're gone past and you're like, oh, I'm so silly, I can't remember. And then you're chopping up carrots or something later on that evening, and then their name pops up. So our subconscious mind is like a computer that has so many files. Or back in the day, back in my day, where we had filing cabinets. So I would think it's like a big warehouse full of filing cabinets. And there's a file in there for everything from the day we were born. Absolutely everything. And because the conscious mind can't hold on to everything, it stores it away, like I said earlier. So that's why it pops up then, because you have more or less asked your subconscious, and your subconscious then knows that this is important. This is important to Ellie, that I, bring back this information. And then after a certain time, it'll pop up, and you'll notice that's starting to happen even more. And I
Yeah.
always think, people say, oh, I have a bad memory. And I'd say, no, we don't. People need to stop thinking. If, sometimes you go and put your pin into a card machine and you're like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I can't remember. And then you walk outside the shop and it's like, oh yeah, now I know. And that's exactly what it is. So we don't have bad memories. We just don't give our memories a lot of time to process what we want or what we need in the moment. And when we can give it more time, the answer will literally pop up like a toaster.
That's so interesting. And actually, when you were saying about the driving analogy, I was just thinking, I've got a toddler, and watching them learn stuff for the first time, that it's hard to help them because you can't even remember how you learned that. So like, my daughter really struggles with Fs. And then when you're thinking like then you start thinking about it and like, oh gosh, it's actually such a hard movement. So much stuff has to be in the right place. But obviously, as a grown-up, you just talk all the time. You don't think about, because it's just a natural thing you do without thinking.
We do it all without thinking. And we ride a bike without thinking, we put on our shoes without thinking, we tie our laces without thinking, we just do everything. And it's like that. And you'll notice, your little one struggling with so many things as she starts off. But then all of a sudden, like just like that, she gets it. And then that's because it's no longer conscious learning, it's dropped into her subconscious. And yeah, it's fascinating. So someone in hypnosis, their brain shifts into like a deep, relaxed and focused state, similar to, like I said, when you're absorbed in a book. So it's all, hypnosis is all scientifically, backed, to help people out of so many tough times in their life. Yeah.
And then in the long term, is it helping people kind of change their, like, almost refiling stuff? So if the stuff at the front is like lots of anxiety and stress, is that almost helping them kind of file it differently so that those things aren't causing the anxiety or the...
I deal with a lot of people with anxiety and stress. And what happens when you have a lot of anxiety is that there's a part of the brain called the amygdala. And that amygdala is controls our fight, flight, or freeze response, which you probably know. So a lot of people, that part of the brain is constantly on hyper alert. So through hypnotherapy and through recordings that I send my clients afterwards, you calm that part of the brain down. And with the methods that I use, say somebody has a fear of flying, so they're very anxious about flying, they feel like when they get on the plane and the door closes, they have no control and they start panicking and sweating and then go backwards. Like, it's like they don't even want to talk about booking a holiday, or they don't even want to, a lot of people said COVID was great because they never had to think about going on holidays with their loved ones,
Yeah.
So when I work with somebody like that, with the methods that I use, I can have them collapse memories around times that made them afraid of this flying. Because obviously it comes a fear. We're only born with a fear of falling and a fear of loud noises. We're not born with any other fear. Every other fear is learned. So we either learn a fear from somebody who has the fear, or we experience something like in a plane, like bad turbulence or something like that, where we're actually there and something happens. So I can actually collapse people's emotions around those memories. And when they look back, they can't even remember being afraid even at that time. So what happens then when they go when they go to book their flight or they go on their flight, the amygdala, it's like it's never happened. So the amygdala doesn't fire off, and it doesn't set off the fight or flight or the panic or the heart palpitations or the sweaty hands. So that anxiety is not there anymore. It's gone. So it's lasting.
And then also, because I guess the brain's like a muscle, isn't it? So it's like one of those things where once you've done it once, then your brain's like, oh, actually that is fine. And then it reinforces itself.
Exactly. You're so right. It has a memory muscle. And like going to the gym, you have to go a few times before you see any results. It's the same with, with changing the memory muscle. Now, a lot of people can see change in hypnotherapy in 2 sessions. Some people might, take longer. It just varies from, client to client. I find that it works so fast, especially with anxiety and stress. And I'm a mindset coach as well, so I'm a bit geeky. And even though I like to do the therapeutic side of things and help people, fast, like get them out of this, because we don't need to live in fear, and we don't need to have imposter syndrome or self-doubt or fear of public speaking or, bite our nails to the quick or, be afraid of flying. We need to be living our best life, So when I'm so passionate about helping people move out of all of those, because a lot of people, they're afraid, they're comfortable being uncomfortable, and they're afraid they don't know what it's like to be on the other side. But like I say to people, there's like a whole new world on the other side when you move out of that comfort zone and like hit a bit of pain for whatever length of time and just push through that fear And, it's amazing how your life can change.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that fear that holds people back, but it's so amazing when you see people make that first, like, oh my gosh, it wasn't anywhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Exactly. I was stuck in so much of that, like negative thought loops, constantly worrying about the future. So if you're depressed, you're you're thinking backwards, you're looking back into the past and regretful and guilt and all of that. And when you're suffering with anxiety, you're like future, it's like having a crystal ball, you think, and you're looking into the future and you're so fearful like of the future. And I was like that for so long, so many years. Even in my marriage, I was constantly in that fearful loop. So and hypnotherapy works by, it accesses the part of that mind where those, thought loops are stored, and helps, like I said before, it reduces all of that. It replaces them with like empowerment, and when you understand your subconscious mind, it can support you so much. It's incredible. You gain
Yeah.
awareness of those unconscious negative thoughts. You like rewiring the subconscious, with healthier, more constructive thoughts can just change your life, Ellie, in my
Oh,
opinion.
yeah, I totally agree. And for the people who are like worried about it when they come to you, what do you do to kind of help people at the beginning? Because I can imagine that's quite common.
Of course. Well, I like I give a free 30-minute consultation call. So in that consultation call, then they can ask me every question that they want, and I put their mind at ease. And sometimes it goes longer than 30 minutes, but it's normally around the 30 minutes. And I explain how they'll feel before and after. Because, like I said before, sometimes people, they're stuck in something, or they're fearful. They have been fearful of something for such a long, long time that they can't even. It's like you ask them what do they want, and they can't even imagine what life would be like to not
Yeah.
have what they have, what they've come to you for. So I think the consultation, I don't go straight in. I think maybe other hypnotherapists, you can just book a call, and just go straight in. But I think building rapport with somebody is really important. And you'll know straight away if there's a good connection with somebody. And once
Yeah.
they feel relaxed and at ease, then it's all plain sailing after that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer, and it's part of my sort of whole ethos and why I've started recording these episodes actually, is like, you could, for lots of things, it's a bit like dating or friendships, that you can have three people who on paper all do exactly the same thing and have the same training, but for whatever reason one of them you connect with on like some kind of level that maybe is quite hard to explain, but they're the one who you're most likely to do the best work with because you feel relaxed, or whatever it is that lets you be vulnerable in the way that you need to make that forward progress.
Yeah, exactly. And I do believe that um, people like people who are like themselves as well. And I might not fit everybody. I used to think, oh, I don't know if I want to, like, not saying want to work with men. I used to think that my clients would be mainly women, but believe it or not, they're mainly men. And I would have thought that wouldn't have been the case. But, just it's when you just get on with somebody, and you just have good conversations. Like, I'd have good conversations with them. My sessions are like, they're so powerful because they have this domino effect. So somebody might come for one thing, and like, I had somebody come years ago for a fear of flying and a fear of heights. Now, when we knocked that out of the park, basically in 2 sessions,
Yeah.
it all his whole he changed so much. It was like, his confidence level grew. He just spoke up for himself more. It has that domino effect that he got on better with family members, and it was just amazing to see. And a lot of people say that as well, that they come for one thing and they notice that they're not as they don't, they're not maybe as shouty with their children, or they get on better with their husbands or their partners. And it's just amazing when you can help somebody in that way, to change not only them, but like I said, for me, like I thought I wanted it for me, but the difference it's made to my children's life in having them right mindset, because mindset and self-talk is good. Self-talk as well, Ellie, is amazing.
I was just smiling there because that's anyone who's worked with me or probably listened to other episodes when they start coming out. I talk about that so much. And I think it's something that especially women really struggle with, that negative self-talk. And it's so difficult because that puts you into that stress all the time and then makes your fuse shorter.
Every thought we think, and when we repeat, whether it's positive or negative, it just like it reinforces a belief system that shapes our actions and then our results. But if we constantly criticize ourselves, which I would have done, or doubt our abilities, or focus on what's going wrong, we create just that mental blueprint that keeps us stuck. And again, there's another part of our mind which you probably know about as well, which is our reticular activating system. It's the part of the brain that it's like a GPS for your car, and what you program into it is what you get back. So if we constantly criticize ourselves or doubt ourselves, then we're literally telling the RAS that that's like important, and that's all we're getting back, because our mind doesn't know the difference between what's real or what's vividly imagined, so that's why visualization as well is so powerful. And good self-talk, athletes, high achievers and top performers, you use mental rehearsal like visualization to success before it happens. They visualize the outcome of their golf or their basketball or their football. And when we can do that, and that's where hypnotherapy is so effective, is it taps into the subconscious part through visualization. And that's where you, when you see something over and over and over and over, then the brain thinks, because it doesn't know the difference between real or imagined, it thinks it's real. So like if you're fearful of maybe standing on stage or speaking, if you can visualize that over and over and over, then when the time comes, you won't get the heart palpitations or the sweaty hands, or the brain will be like, oh, well, I've done this before, because it thinks you've done it before, and then it just happens, and you have a great time on stage.
I think culturally, and I think Ireland is probably quite similar to the UK in this, that like there's a sort of cultural thing that makes it difficult with that negative self-talk, where we don't like to, it's seen as being braggy or showing off if you do too much positive self-talk. So a lot of us struggle to do the positive self-talk because it even inside feels really braggy. Yeah, and we were all told at school by various whoever's that it was bad, and so that you're almost overcoming that cultural stuff as well as what's happening in your head, even though we all know.
No, you're so right. I mean, that is like, I was brought up in the Catholic religion where you meant to be humble and not saying not love yourself, but it's that like, oh, she loves herself kind of, not saying that's anything to do with the Catholic religion, but you were meant to be more downward than upward, if that makes sense.
Something I try and talk to people about, you don't necessarily have to do that out loud if you don't want to change your kind of outward personality to be like, I think a lot of British people that I work with are really worried that that they're but it's about how you talk to yourself inside can be completely different. Like saying, oh, I'm really good at this thing isn't the same as like going into a new place, like chucking everything on the table and being like, I'm the best at this thing in the world. But I think we struggle to make that differentiation.
I think we have to, what has to happen for the conscious and the subconscious are it's identities as well. You might look in a mirror and you see the person in the mirror, and then you see yourself. And Maxwell Maltz wrote an amazing book called Psycho-Cybernetics. I don't think it's there. It's an amazing read for anybody. So he was a plastic surgeon way back in the day, and he would see so many people who would come to his offices for disfigurements, and he would do, maybe say, like back then there was cold calling salesmen that would go knocking on door to door, and they might, somebody for instance might have a mark on their face or very sticky out ears or something like that, and he would fix them, and then that person would have loads of confidence, and his job would, he'd get lots more money in his job and all of that. And then he'd see other people that he would change them, like maybe by a woman that might want her nose changed or her cheeks changed or something, and it would be so like apparent that this person had the work done, but they couldn't see it. So it was the identity on the inside couldn't see the change on the outside. So what you have to do is, in sometimes, and it can be a hard thing to do, but it's like you have to, you have to leave the old identity behind. Like what I did, I was like the caterpillar coming out. So you have to shed that old identity, and so you have to, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind have to be in alignment, because if you have a conscious mind that says, oh yeah, talking or saying affirmations, I'm brilliant, I'm brilliant, I'm brilliant, but the subconscious mind, through programming from years and years and years ago, is saying, don't be silly, no you're not, then because the subconscious mind is the one that holds all the power, it's the one that wins. So you have to change it on a subconscious level, and when you change it on a subconscious level, then you're working at the same level consciously. You believe it consciously then, and then that's when you believe in yourself then.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think that is true, and that's probably why the equivalent of the talking therapy or doing it that way would take 600 hours as opposed to the 6 of doing the hypnotherapy, because otherwise you basically have to retrain it over 600 hours.
Exactly.
Or reprogram it.
Yeah, and that's why hypnotherapy is so fast as well, and the change is so fast, because a lot of most therapies, they don't work with the subconscious. I'm a future focused hypnotherapist, so I will only talk to somebody for a short period of time, maybe about the past, but I bring people forward. I obviously I get to know them and their story, but we leave that in the past because we can't change that, but we can change the future. And you can change when you understand that you have complete control over the thoughts you think, over the actions, you can actually literally rewrite that story. And you can have you mightn't have come from the best of a start, but you can definitely move forward to an amazing future.
Oh, I really love that. And it's one of the things that I talk about with clients, or like prospective clients a bit as well, is that I'm like not adverse to talking about trauma, and I'm not like a toxic positivity person, but equally like, and I'll hold space for it or whatever, but I want to try and help them find positive ways forward.
Yeah, because if somebody is constantly thinking or talking about their past, they're activating that part of their brain that is literally just bringing the past up over and over and over, and it's of no benefit. It's literally of no benefit to you. You have to get the tools and get to see the right people that will move you forward, move you out of literally the darkness and into the light. I know it's cliche, but that's like, I was that person that I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. I was put on medication for anxiety. I was a shadow of when I came home. And even through the marriage, I was like a shadow of who I am now. I felt like a shadow. I felt like somebody was there, and then I was their shadow. And so I know what it's like to feel depressed, to feel anxious, to feel worried, to feel stressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how I feel now, and I would need a telescope to look back on the life that that I lived to where I am now. And I know that it's possible for everybody to move out of where they are if they're stuck or afraid, or, it is possible. And mindset is the main thing that can get you there.
Yeah. Do you know what? This is so interesting because this is something that I've been talking about quite a lot recently. I've had like 3 people recently say that when they try and do breath work, they like start panicking. And I have, and I think now I've been talking to you, I think I've probably figured out what it is, because I was saying to my mentor, actually, because I was asking her about it for some advice, and their conscious mind takes over and they're like, no, we can't do that. And so this, and I almost wonder with people like that actually the hypnotherapy would probably be quite helpful, because they don't have to consciously do the relaxing themselves because they're so frightened. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And everything, the bottom line nearly of everything is fear, isn't it, Ellie? It's fear. Yeah.
Get stuck in the problem with especially when you're like very stressed, or if you've been there for a long time, you get comfortable there. So even though you want to not be like that, it's terrifying not to be, because you think, what if I stop, everything's going to fall apart, or everything's going to, and that's the hardest bit, that first bit, because everything's so tightly wound and so controlled that you feel like if you let go, I don't know, everything's going to fall apart.
Yeah, and that's the way I lived my life. I lived like that for such a long time, that in a marriage that wasn't going anywhere, and I knew it wasn't, and I knew something had to happen, but I was so afraid, because where was I going to go? How was I going to start again? All that fear that was there. I don't know if you ever heard the story of, it's an old fable of a man that could hear a dog barking in his neighbour's garden. And this dog was barking day and night and day and night and day and night. So the neighbour went in and spoke to the owner of the dog, and they went out the back, and the dog was barking and barking and barking. And the neighbour said, "Why is your dog barking so much?" And the owner said, "He's sitting on a nail." And the neighbour said, "Why does he not get off the nail?" And the owner said, "Because the pain's not great enough."
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where I was. My pain wasn't, it was a lot, but I got to a stage where enough was enough, and like the dog, I had to get off that nail. But so many people sit on that nail, and they sit on it, and they sit on it, and they think, what am I going to do if I leave this relationship, or if I leave this job, or if I start my business? Or it's like, what if your life will be wonderful? What if life can be more wonderful than you ever imagined on the other side of that fear? Because, we go through all of that, but it's all learning. We learn everything from what we go through,
Yeah.
all those obstacles, as the book is, the obstacles are the way. Take the learnings and move forward. Yeah, the life is good. You can make a really good life out of a really crappy past.
Yeah. And I think once you learn that it's possible to do things for yourself, and that you can, it's having the belief that you can get through even the hard bits of the work. And once you've done that once or twice, it starts getting easier and easier, because then you start believing in yourself that you take the first step and you're like, oh, actually I did do that and it was fine.
As I always say, the small wins, Ellie, the small wins. People think, oh, I could never do this. Oh, I could never do this. I could never do this. But if you look back on the things that you've done, I'm sure you've done so many hard things in the past, like crazy amounts of hard things in the past. So think of the things that you've done in the past, and oh, well, I did that. Like, even if it's like getting through a hard exam, or studying for your finals, and all these things, driving, all of the things that you've done. So we can do hard things. Sometimes we just get to a stage where you think, oh, I'm okay. I'm okay. But more. There's more out there. If you want more, a lot of people are happy where they are, obviously. But if you're not, there is definitely no need to struggle, because nobody's broken. Nobody. I tell everybody that nobody's broken. They just need to find a better way, find somebody to help them out of where they are and into change.
Yeah, I think that feels like the perfect place to finish this conversation. But thank you so much. This has been really interesting. Where can people go if they want to find out more about
Okay, so
you?
I'm on the usual places, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I have an offer for your listeners.
Oh, lovely.
It's a it's an 8 minute, might seem very short, very powerful um, audio reset. So it's a great way to experience a little taste of hypnosis, and you can download that. I think you have the link for that. You probably do, Ellie.
Yeah, I'll put it in the notes for the episode.
Yeah. So I'm very reachable. I'm very accommodating. I understand that anxiety doesn't stop on a Friday evening or on a bank holiday here in Ireland. And so anybody that wants to contact me, just reach out through my website or through Instagram or anything, and I'll talk to anybody about anything. So yeah, I'm very, very reachable. And I love connecting with people.
Well, I can say I know that you're very responsive, because when we were organising this and there was the big storm that came through, you were still managing to message to rearrange even without power.
Driving, driving in the car to get signal. It was so funny. Yeah, so I'm very accessible. Yeah, and I'm very accommodating for people for times as well. Yeah, because I know people are busy and they're working 9 to 5, and in different parts of the world. So just reach out and let's chat.
Excellent. Thank you so much.